Section 5.3 talks about determinant solutions of linear systems. So we're going to talk about another way to solve a system of linear equations using determinants. And so the first thing we got to figure out is how do we find a determinant? What's an actual determinant? Okay. So I want you to notice that we have a matrix just like in a range of numbers. Okay. And the numbers are labeled as, let's see, A11, A12, A21, A22. So I want you to kind of get an idea or figure out, what do those numbers mean? What is the A11? All that kind of business. So let me write this out here for us. Okay. I'm just going to write it a little bit bigger. So A11, and this is A21, this is A12, and this is A22. Okay, so the first number here refers to the row. And the second number here refers to the column. Okay, so A11 is in the first row going left and right, and in the first column. And so if I were to look at, say, this one here, this is in the first row, and it's in the second column. Okay, so that's basically how they're defining what does the 1, 2 mean, what does the 1, 1 mean, all that kind of business. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we're going to find the determinant of a matrix. So the determinant of a matrix says we're going to do that here. And when we write the determinant, as opposed to kind of doing this business here, we just have straight lines. Okay, so -3 and 6 and 4 and 8. And I want you to notice what they're multiplying. They're taking A11, this one here, times A22. So we're going to multiply 3 times -8. So I'm going to write, or -3, I'm sorry, times 8, minus, and then we're going to take A21 times A12. So then we're going to multiply these two. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers there, 6 times 4. Okay. So this is going to be -3 times 8 is a -24, minus 6 times 4 is also 24. And so this is giving me a -48. Okay. So in essence, what we're really doing here, guys, when we're doing this kind of multiplication is we're multiplying these together here, and then we're multiplying these together here, and we're subtracting. Okay. So let's do that for the next one. Okay. So I'm going to multiply these two numbers together. -5 times -1. It's supposed to be a -1. Minus, and then I'm going to multiply these numbers together. 4 times 9. So this is a +5 minus 36. This is giving me a -31. Okay. Do the same thing here. We're going to multiply. So 3 times -2 minus 5 times 4. So this is -6 minus 20, -26. Okay. So I'm hoping that the process is kind of seeming a little familiar now, a little similar, easy to do. 9 times -1 minus -3 times 3. So this is a -9 minus, let's see, another -9. So minus and minus become plus. Oops, that doesn't look like a 0, does it? And so the determinant here happens to be 0. Okay. All right. So now, what happens when we have a 3 by 3 matrix? Okay. When we have a 3 by 3 matrix, the process is going to be similar. Okay. So remember, when we're writing our numbers, the first number refers to the row, second number refers to the column. Okay. So when I look at, say, let's see, this entry right here, this is in the third row and in the first column. When I look at this one here, this is in the second row and the third column. Okay. So remember, rows go left and right, and columns go up and down. Okay. So we're going to take a look. I'm going to show you the process and how we're going to find the determinant here. Okay, so we're going to take A11, A22, A33. We're going to take these numbers here. We're going to multiply them, okay? And I'm actually, you know what, let me actually do it this way. So I'm going to write this thing here in my format. Okay, and then A12, A22, A32, and then A13, A23, A33. And then what we do here, guys, is I'm going to take these two and I'm going to copy and paste them again, okay? So I'm going to write it right here. Look, A11, A21, A31, A12, A22, A32, okay? And the reason why I'm doing that is I'm going to show you the process here. The process says we're going to go along the diagonal. We're going to multiply those numbers. We're going to multiply those numbers. And we're going to multiply these numbers. And if you notice, look at the numbers that I circled in the diagonals. Look, so here is the first one, A11, A22, A33. And then look at the next ones that I grouped. A12, A23, A31. Okay. And then the third set is A13, A21, A32. Okay. We're going to multiply those numbers together. Then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go along the diagonal like this. A31, A22, A13. And then we're going to do this diagonal, A32, A23, A11. And then we're going to do this diagonal, A33, A21, A12. I want you to notice those numbers on the inside are being added, but we're going to subtract. We're going to take this piece here minus the sum of the ones that I grouped in red. Okay, I know it's a little bit messy, but I'm going to walk you through the process right now so we can figure out how to do this. Okay, so here's my first problem. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the same numbers that I had before. 4, 2, negative 6. Negative 7, 1, and 3. Okay? And I'm going to start going along my diagonal. So the first thing I'm going to write down 4 times 1 times 0. Okay? Plus, I'm going to go along the diagonal again. Negative 7 times 3 times negative 6. I'm going to go along the diagonal again. Plus 8 times 2 times 3. Okay? Then I go minus. Now, this part is going to be in like brackets and parentheses because I'm going to have to do my diagonals going this way now. So I'm going to go negative 6 times 1 times 8 plus 3 times 4 plus, here's my other diagonal, 0 times 2 times negative 7. Okay? And now all I'm going to do is start to simplify. Okay? So that part's going to be 0. I already know that part, but I'm going to write it down. 0 plus, let's see. We're going to multiply these numbers together. Let me get my calculator here. Let me turn it on. Let me clear it out. Okay, so I have negative 7 times 3 times negative 6, 126. Okay, plus, I got to take 8 times 2 times 3. 8 times 2 times 3 should be 48. There we go. 48 minus, okay, I'm going to multiply these together. Negative 6 times 1 times 8, that's a negative 48. I know that. Okay. 3 times 3 times 4, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. Okay. And this is going to give me 0, right? Okay. So now let me take my calculator again. I'm going to add those two numbers together. So what's 126 plus 48? That's giving me 174. Okay. Minus, we're going to see what this is going to give me. Let me see. Negative 48 and 36 is a negative 12. So negative and negative become positive. So 174 plus 12 adds up to 186. And there's my determinant, okay? So look, I have another problem similar. I'm going to do it exactly the same way we did before, okay? So, excuse me, let me zoom in a little bit. My first step, I'm going to write a 7, 1, a minus 2, minus 1, a minus 7, and a 1. Notice I'm giving myself plenty of room here, okay? I don't want to crowd it too much when you're doing this at home, especially, obviously you're going to be writing this stuff out. Excuse me. Give yourself plenty of space to go ahead and do the writing. It's going to be easier if you do it that way. Okay, so let's go along the first diagonal. These here. So I'm going to take 7 times negative 7 times 1, okay, plus, I'm going to go negative 1 times 2 times negative 2, plus 1 times 1 times 1, okay, minus, now I'm going to start going these diagonals. Okay, so I'm going to put this here, negative 2 times negative 7 times 1, plus 1 times 2 times 7, okay, plus 1 times negative 1, okay? All right, and now let's see if we can't simplify. So we're going to go piece at a time. This is going to be a negative 49. Let's see. This here is going to be a positive 4. I know that's 1. Minus, let's see, negative 2 times negative 7, positive 14 times 1 is still 14. Okay. 1 times 2 times 7 is another 14. 1 times negative 1 is a minus 1. Okay. So let's see. This is negative 49 plus 5 plus, this is 28 minus 1. It's supposed to be a minus 1. There we go, minus 1. So this is negative 44 plus 27. So let me get my calculator. Negative 44 plus 27. And I'm coming up with a negative 17. Okay. And so we found the determinant of our matrix. It takes a little bit of time, right? And you got to be real careful so that you write your numbers down clearly and correctly. And sometimes if you come up with the wrong number and you're doing your, check my answer, if it's incorrect, all it means is that you wrote something down incorrectly, or when you did a calculation, it was done incorrectly. Guys, I make little mistakes here and there too. So if you get it wrong, just try it again. Write it all out. I would say don't go back and look for your mistake. I would just try doing it again. Okay. All right. So now we have something called Cramer's rule. Okay. Cramer's rule for 2 equations and 2 variables. So I'm going to show you how we're going to go through this process. Okay, so the directions here say, look, if this is our system of equations, okay, a1 times x1 plus b1 times y equals c1, and a2x plus b2y equals c2. And it's telling me that d is not equal to 0, and I'm going to show you what d means in a little bit. Then the unique system, the system has a unique solution. So it's given me how we're going to find the solution using Cramer's rule. Okay. So Cramer's rule says this is what the letter D is. The letter D is the determinant of this particular matrix. So for our particular problem here, guys, we're going to write this out. D is, and I want you to look at how they're writing the numbers here. It's A1, B1, A2, B2. And I want you to look at where my A1, B1, A2, B2 are. They're the numbers in front of my X and Y in my equations. So they're going to be the coefficients of those terms. So I'm going to write 1, 1, and 2, and negative 1. And we know how to solve or find a determinant like this because we're going to say, look, we're going to multiply these numbers. So we're going to take 1 times negative 1 minus, we're going to multiply those numbers, 2 times 1. So this is negative 1 minus 2, negative 3. Okay, so far, I know the value of D is negative 3. Okay, Now, the second piece, we're going to find what dx is. Okay, so let me write it here for us. Dx. Okay, dx is going to be a determinant. I want you to look at where those, remember here we had the coefficients of our x values. So what we're doing is we're going to say we're not going to use those numbers there. We're going to take the numbers we have on this side and we're going to substitute them in here, and that's how we're coming up with those numbers right there. So what we're going to do is, instead of using the coefficients of the x terms, we're going to use these numbers. That's going to be 4 and 2. Now, the b's are still the numbers in front of my y's. Okay, so this is still going to be a 1 and a -1. So what I want you to kind of think about is, since we're looking for the x part here, this is the determinant with the x, we said we're not going to use these coefficients. Instead, we're going to replace those first ones with these here. Okay. Now, we can find our determinant. We're going to multiply. So we're going to take 4 times -1 minus 2 times 1. So this is going to be -4 minus 2. This is -6. Okay. So right here, I'm going to put dx is -6. Okay. Now we're going to do this one more time. We're going to go dy. Oops. Fix this. And we're going to go dy. Okay. Now I'm going to clean up some of this mess here so that we can see what's dy. Okay. dy says we're going to leave the x coefficients alone. So I'm going to leave that as a 1. I'm going to leave that as a 2 because those are my x coefficients. But now, instead of me using these values, we're now going to replace them with those. So this is going to be a 4 and a 2. Okay? And we're going to find the determinant of our matrix. So we're going to multiply. So 1 times 2 minus 2 times 4. So this is 2 minus 8. This is also -6. Okay. So now we know dy is also -6. Okay. All right. Now we're almost done. It tells me to find my x value. We're going to take the value for dx. We're going to divide it by d. So this is -6 divided by a -3, +2. Okay. And then we're going to find our y value. And the way we find our y values, we're going to take dy and divide it by d. dy, we also came up with -6. D was -3, I'm sorry. So -6 divided by -6 divided by -3, +2. So remember, now we're looking for the point where those two lines meet. They meet at the point 2, 2. Okay. This is the method of using Cramer's rule. Okay. So not Cosmo Cramer from Seinfeld, but Cramer's rule, and some mathematician from back in the day. Okay. It's a little tedious. It takes a little time to get used to. And a lot of times I agree, substitution elimination is a lot easier, but we just got to figure out, what's the process like, okay? Calculations are a little bit more involved, but we can do them. And guys, just to give you a heads up, you only have a couple of problems like this in your homework, okay? I'm not bombarding you with like 10 problems like this. You're probably going to have 2 like the one we just did right now, okay? So look, let's do this one. We're going to go about it the same way, okay? So the first thing we're going to do here, we're going to find, oops, let me get my pen working again. Here we go. We're going to find D. D says we're going to find the determinant of this matrix. So this is going to be 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So remember, I'm going to multiply. This is going to be 5 times 8 minus 6 times 7. Okay. So this is 40 minus 42, -2. Okay. So all I'm going to do is over here on the side, I'm going to write that D is equal to -2. Boom. Okay. So now, tell you what we're going to do. Now that we've done that, let me clean this up. we're going to find dx. Okay? So what dx says is let's replace the coefficient of the x's with these here. So I'm going to go -1 and 1, and then my y coefficients will stay the same. So I'm going to multiply again. Okay. -1 times 8 minus 1 times 7. So this is -8 minus 7. This is -15. Okay. So over here, for my dx, we came up with a -15. Okay. Let me double check something, guys. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find dy. Okay, so let me get my pen going again. Here we go. Okay, so dy. So remember, when I'm doing dy, my x coefficients are going to stay the same. This is going to be 5 and 6. Okay, but we're going to replace these y values with these over here. So -1 and 1. Okay, and I'm going to multiply. So we're going to have 5 times 1 minus 6 times a -1. This is 5 minus -6. So this becomes plus. So this is going to give me 11. Okay. So now we know that dy is equal to 11. Okay. So now let's go ahead and find the solution. The x value is going to be dx over d. The y value is going to be dy over d. Okay. So the first one is going to be a -15 over a -2. The negatives will reduce because a negative divided by negative is a positive. So it's just 15 over 2. And the y value, dy, is 11 divided by a -2. That's just a -11 halves. Okay. And so if you notice here, the solution is 15 halves and -11 halves. Okay. So one thing I do want to point out, again, I know the calculations can be tedious in doing these things here, but it does allow me to find solutions that aren't nice, pretty numbers like -3 and 4 or 8 and -2, something like that. I did find answers that happen to be fractions, and sometimes that's just what we get, okay? So, okay, we're only going to do one that has 3 variables with Cramer's rule because this is pretty time consuming, okay? So before I go on, I want to kind of illustrate a couple of things. So the way we're going to find the D matrix. The D matrix is going to look like this. A11, A21, A22, A12. Oh, sorry, this is supposed to be a 3 down here. A22, I'm already making mistakes, guys. Rows and columns, right? Rows and columns. So let me see. This is 2-1. This is 3-1. This is A12. This is A22. This is A32. This is A13. This is A23. And this is A33. Okay. That's how I'm going to find the D determinant when I have a 3 by 3. Okay. Now, remember, now when I'm going to do, say, the dx part, okay? The dx part says we're going to replace these x values with these coefficients here. And these coefficients, we call them C1, C2, C3. So the only thing that's going to be different is that this is going to be C1, C2, C3. The rest of it stays the same. Okay. And then the same thing is going to happen for the dy and the dz, okay? So let me just write it out here so you guys can see what I'm referring to. So this is still going to be A11, A12, and A13, but now this is going to be C1, C2, C3, A13, A23, and A33. Okay, and let me see. Oops, still making small mistakes here, guys. Sorry about this. This is 2-1 and 3-1, right? Okay, and then we're going to have one more. The DZ, this is why I said I'm only giving you one like this, okay? So, what am I going to do? A11, A21, A31, A12, A22, A32, and then the last spot here is going to have my C1, C2, C3, okay? So, and then we're going to do it the same way been doing before. X is going to be dx over d. Y is going to be dy over d. And z is going to be dz over d. Okay. So this is basically like my formula. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to see, can we figure this problem out, okay? So first thing I'm going to do, let me zoom in. And I want to find the matrix D, okay, the determinant of D. So we're going to go, let me get my pen going here. So we're going to go 2, 3, 1, -1, 2, 4, 4, -1, 2. And then if you remember, my next part, I'm going to write these numbers here again. Okay. And we're going to go in piece at a time. Okay. So the first step is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 plus -1 times -1 times 1 plus 4 times 3 times 4, okay, minus this part here. I'm going to go up this way. So 1 times 2 times 4, okay, plus 4 times -1 times 2 plus 2 times 3 times -1. Okay. All right, and let's just start calculating. So this here is going to be 8 plus this here is going to be 1 plus this here is going to be 48 minus 1 times 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 1 times -2 is a -8. And 2 times 3 times -1 is a -6. Okay. So let's see. 8 and 1 is 9 plus 48 minus, those are going to cancel, a -6 here. So minus and minus is going to give me plus. So let me take my calculator and I'm just going to start adding these numbers up. So we have 9 plus 48 plus 6. And we're coming up with 63. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, oops, trying to see where I got some room over here. Okay, so right here I'm going to write D is equal to 63. Okay. All right. Now the next thing we're going to look for, we're going to find the value of dx. Okay. So dx says right here, here's my formula for dx. I'm going to take those numbers. Those are going to be the ones I'm going to write in my first column. So it's, let's make sure we can see them all. Okay, so it's -2, -3, and 17. -2, -3, 17, and let's see, those coefficients will be the same. So we had a -1, a 2, and a 4. And then we had a 4, a -1, and a 2. Okay. I'm going to bring this down here. And I'm just going to write -2, -3, 17, -1, 2, and 4. Okay. And we're going to start calculating. So again, I know this is time consuming, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. But again, I'm only putting one problem like this in your homework, okay? All right, so we're going to go -2 times 2 times 2 plus -1 times -1 times 17 plus 4 times -3 times 4 minus, okay, oops, now we're going to go this way. So I have 17 times 2 times 4 plus 4 times -1 times -2 plus 2 times -3 times -1. Okay? So now let's see if we can come up with our calculation. -8 plus, that's going to give me 17. 4 times -3 times 4 is going to give me a -48. Okay. Minus, let's see, I'm going to use my calculator for that one. Where is it? Here we go. Clear it out. What's 17 times 2 times 4? 136. Okay, 136. Let's see. 4 times -1 times -2 should be a +8. And this here should be a +6. Okay. So now let's go ahead and see if we can at least combine these together. Okay. So where's my calculator? Here we go. So 136 plus 8 plus 6 is 150. Okay. And let's see if we can combine these together. So I have -8 plus 17 minus 48 is -39. So -39 minus 150, that should give me a -189. Okay. So now, okay, I'm going to come back over here. Where did we write it? Here we go. So there is our D. So right here I'm going to write dx is, was it negative? Yes, -189. Okay. Alrighty. So now we're going to find, oops, let me zoom in a little bit. Now I want to find dy. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over a little bit. dy is going to be equal to, okay, where's my problem? Here we go. I'm going to use these same numbers here, 2, 3, and 1. Okay, oops. 2, 3, and 1. Okay, and my y values are now going to be, where those that y column was, now they're going to be -2, -3, and 17. -2, -3, and 17. And my z values stay the same, which are these values here, 4, -1, and 2. 4, -1, and 2. Okay. 4, -1, and 2. Okay. All right. So remember, my first step is 2, 3, 1, -2, -3, and 17. Alrighty, I'm going to go through the process again. Guys, I'm doing this because I care about you, not because I enjoy doing it, okay? All right, I'm just trying to keep it light, guys. I know these problems get tedious, okay? So just bear with me. Okay, so we're going to multiply those numbers together. And then my next column is going to be plus -2 times -1 times 1. Okay, plus 4 times 3 times 17. And we're going to go minus, and we're going to start coming up this way. Okay, so I'm going to go 1 times -3 times 4 plus 17 times -1 times 2 plus 2 times 3 times -2. All right. Okay, so let's start crunching the numbers now. 2 times -3 times 2 is a -12. Okay. This here is a +2. Oh, I got to get my calculator for this one. It's 4 times 3 times 17. 4 times 3 times 17. Something pretty big. 204. Right? Plus 204. Minus, let's see. This is a -12. This is going to be negative also. 34. And this is also going to be -12 also. Okay. So these two together is going to give me a -10 plus 204 minus, these are all negative, so we can just add them together and keep it negative. So 12 plus 34 plus 12 is -58. Okay. So these here, a -10 and a 204 should give me a 194. Minus and minus make it plus 58. So what's 1 plus 194? 252. Okay. So I'm going to zoom back out again. Let's see. I'm going to write it right here. dy is 252. Okay. Guys, trust me, we're almost done. Uno más. We just got to do dz now, okay? So I'm going to zoom back in here. And remember what we're going to do for a dz. For a dz, we're going to replace these numbers here with these here. So this part is going to be the same. 2, 3, 1. Okay, that's just going down. So let me see where I have some room, because I am running out of room, but I can do it somewhere. We'll just do it right here. dz. We said going down is 2, 3, and 1. Let me go with some black marker. Okay. Oh, that looks so messy. 2, 3, 1. Okay. And let's see, where are we? Here we go. And then the y values are -1, 2, and 4. The y values are -1, 2, and 4. -1, 2, and 4. Okay. So, and then the z column is going to be -2, -3, and 17. -2, -3, and 17. -2, -3, and 17. Okay. All right. So remember, the first thing I'm going to do again, 2, 3, 1. -1, 2, and 4. Okay. So first thing we're going to do. Okay. So 2 times 2 times 17 plus -1 times -3 times 1 plus -2 times 3 times 4 minus, okay, I'm going to come up this way, Okay, 1 times 2 times negative 2 plus, let's see, 4 times negative 3 times 2 plus 17 times 3 times negative 1. Okay. Oops, sorry. Let's do our calculation now. Okay. So 2 times 2 times 17. I don't know. 2 times 2 times 17 is 68. 68. Okay. Negative 1 times negative 3 times positive 1 is a positive 3. Okay. Negative 2 times 3 times 4. So let me see. Negative 2 times 3 times 4. Negative 24. Okay. Minus, let's see, that's a negative 4. This here, 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is a negative 24. And this is a negative 51. Okay. So let me just take my calculator so we can do this piece here. Let me clear this out. 68 plus 3 minus 24, 47. Minus, these are just going to get added up together because they're all negative. Oops, sorry. 4 plus 24 plus 51, 79 with a negative. We're going to add these two together now. So 79 and what's the other number? 47 is 126. Okay. So now, where was I writing everything? Because I've already lost it all. Here we go. dx was, what did we come up with? 126. Okay. I'm going to zoom in much more. All right. First thing I want you to notice, look how we're going to find the x value. We're going to take dx and we're going to divide it by d. Here's my value for dx, and there's my value of d. Okay, so x is going to be equal to dx over d. And for dx, we came up with a negative 189. For d, we came up with the number 63. When you divide those out, negative 3. Okay. Now, we're going to do the same thing for y. Y is given to me right here. It's dy over d. Okay. dy, we came up with 252. D, we came up with 63. So if I take my calculator, 252 divided by 63, coming up with 4. Okay. Almost done. And oops, z is, this is not, I put an x here, guys, so it's supposed to be a z. Okay. Is going to be dz over d. So 126 over, again, 63 should be 2. Okay. So now, what is our solution? Remember, our solution is x and y and z. Okay. So our x number was negative 3. Our y number was 4. Our z number was 2. And Cramer's rule is a stinky butt. Okay. Takes a lot of time to do, guys. So, again, just to give you a heads up, you're only going to have one problem like this in your homework, okay? And again, I'm only putting one just so that you get a practice, you get a little bit of experience with it, but there's not going to be a whole lot like that, okay? But I do got to go over Cramer's rule, so we did. Guys, dry your eyes because this is the last lecture video for the semester. I hope everything went well. Y'all got questions? Let me know.